Good morning and welcome to Big Bets on Campus Live, presented by BetMGM. This is the Week 10 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my Big Bets on Campus podcast co-host Collin Wilson, and of course, our own college football insider, Mr. Brett McMurphy. A lot to get to today. It's an awesome slate. We'll share our best bets in just a moment. We'll also close with another best bet each. Collin and I will build a 5-team round-robin underdog moneyline parlay, and we'll get to 4 marquee games and share all of our thoughts there. Before we do continue, I do want to remind everyone to make sure that you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our picks there, in addition to an abundance of data and actionable content for today's slate and beyond. And also, our sponsor, BetMGM, has a great new offer for new users. Use the bonus code ACTION when you sign up and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Again, that's the bonus code ACTION. Terms and conditions do apply. Before we get started, Collin, I think you called this SEC semifinal Saturday, so I have to ask you, 4 o'clock Eastern, I think 3 o'clock your time. What's on the main screen? Tennessee, Georgia, or Liberty, Arkansas?
That's a tough one. I think the real question is who gets the audio. I mean, I have the ability to watch 16 games at one time. The audio is really the biggest battle. So I'll be hot on the remote here. We got to figure out if I'm going to listen to Hugh Freeze preaching or a real SEC football game.
Yeah, when things get really exciting and I'm by myself, trust me, I would never do this in front of other people. I will have multiple audios going, and it is, I'm a crazy person. But let's get started here with our best bets. Let's first check in with the leaderboard. The group has been hot as of late, so hopefully we can keep it rolling this week. I think we were 11-3 combined on non-cross picks last week. So let's get right into it. For my best bet, I'm going to go with Auburn. They're traveling to Mississippi State. I think this is a great matchup for them. They can run the ball. Mississippi State's defense has struggled to stop the run. And Auburn, their run defense has been so poor, and everyone is just running on them. Their pass defense has been good. Well, guess what? They get to face a Mississippi State team that doesn't run the ball at all. And on top of that, this is the latest team that has an interim coach. We've seen many have a lot of success the week after. Everyone but Nebraska. I think we've seen 3 or 4 outright upsets from underdogs that were catching at least 2 touchdowns, Charlotte being the latest last week. And also, for what it's worth, Mississippi State has really struggled off of the bye the past 2 weeks, and that has been a theme with Mike Leach's offenses over the years. He's talked about it before. Air raid loses its rhythm and its timing. I think they've scored 0, 0, 7, and 9 after the bye over the past 2 seasons. I think there's value in this number. New coach, you kind of get like a locker room morale boost. You might show a couple, new wrinkles that aren't on film. So I think Auburn has value here. War Eagle. Collin, where are you going?
I'm going to go with NC State with the Wolfpack. I loved them preseason. A little bit of a dip when they had Devin Leary go out of quarterback. And now they have MJ Morris, freshman quarterback, coming in. The 4-star had 3 touchdowns against Virginia Tech last week. I think more importantly, when you get deep into the box score, he had 10 pressures against him, and he didn't commit one turnover-worthy play when the Hokies were able to get a crowded pocket going. And Wake Forest is just one of the worst defenses in the nation and giving up explosive plays and passing down. So what that means is NC State gets into like 3rd and 13. That makes Wake Forest ripe for an explosive play. MJ Morris can do that with this new dimension of passing. And you go to the other side of the ball, when you look at Sam Hartman and Wake and that mesh RPO that they love to run, they've had so much success with. It really just hasn't been that successful this year from a running perspective on the ground. And right now, NC State, they've had struggles with this offense in Wake Forest years past. But this light box of 6 guys that they run in this scheme are second right now in stuff rate. They're 7th in defensive line yards. They're plugging all the gaps. They're playing contain, and teams are not having any success on the ground. So I look for NC State, their new freshman quarterback. I look for them to roll today. I know we're not going to win the ACC championship with this NC State ticket, but Tuffy, one more time. Let's go around.
Yeah, it was stunning to watch the disparity in the 2 quarterbacks last week. They were dead lifeless on offense, and they had, basically a triple option FCS transfer quarterback, and then they bring in the 4-star, and then all of a sudden the game opened wide open, and that offense woke up. So yeah, major upgrade there. with MJ Morris under center. Brett, what do you got in store for us today?
A little Big 12 action. I love this pick, Texas Tech and TCU over. Then I opened my action app this morning and noticed that Collin has the exact opposite. So I'll plunger ahead. Look, the teams are 8-2 over combined in Big 12 play. Texas Tech, one of the fastest, if not the fastest offense in the country. They average 87 plays a game, more than anybody else. They also lead the nation in fourth down attempts and conversions. So either they're going to convert and score, or they're going to give TCU a short field. TCU, fourth best offense in the country. Somehow both of these teams get to the mid 30s, one of them will get to 40. Give me over 69.
All right, there you have it for our best bets. Let's get right into the first of our 4 marquee games. And this might be the game of the year. Tennessee at Georgia, between the hedges, defending national champions, 9-point favorites, over under sitting at 65. I'll kick things off. You know where I'm going. Tennessee, I've been on them all year. I'm higher on them than market all year. I'm not stopping now. I hope it looks like everyone is betting them with me. I hope it's just like the Alabama game. I still have questions about the Georgia defense, right? Like they haven't faced a competent passing offense since Oregon in week 1, and Oregon transfer quarterback, brand new pieces. And we've seen some teams move the ball on this Georgia defense. And then it might be a little shock to the system facing this Tennessee offense that, by the way, gets one of the best receivers in the country back in full force now, with Cedric Tillman, who I think had 10 catches for 200 yards against that historic Georgia defense last year. I think there's too much value in this number. We're going to find out a lot about both teams, but I've been on Tennessee all year. Why stop now? Rocky Top. Collin?
Yeah, I'm going the complete opposite. I'm going to take Georgia here. I'm going to fade Tennessee once again. And yeah, I keep fading Tennessee in the number because the market is always, ahead of where our power rating numbers are. And if I lose this one, I'm just going to buy a Tennessee helmet. I'll be in Green Bay next week for Cowboys Packers, but 2 weeks I'll have a Tennessee helmet right behind me. It won't move the rest of the year if I lose this one. So the easy handicap in this game is the Georgia offense. There are just no answers for Brock Bowers. He lines up at every single position on the field, and Tennessee does not have a single defender that ranks top 200 in coverage per PFF. So on that side of the ball, I expect Georgia to roll. But really the handicap and the watch, what everybody's tuning in for is what is Tennessee's offense going to do against Georgia's defense? And the good news for Georgia Bulldogs is they have 3 corners that are excellent in man coverage. And Tennessee likes to stretch the field. They make you go man one-on-one. And right now, the matchups that they have favor, Georgia being the best defense and being able to limit Tennessee in what they do. Specifically, Javon Bullard, he's only allowed 1 catch in man coverage this year. He's going to be pitted one-on-one with Jalen Hyatt. That is the watch of the day. But, Georgia here has advantages on defense. I think the narrative is kind of overdrawn about the players they lost. We're in November now. And offensively, there's just no stops coming for Tennessee. So give me Georgia here, swallow all those points, and let's go Bulldogs.
I'm surprised he gave up 1 catch. I mean, with the offenses they face, Missouri, Auburn, Samford, Kent State. Brett, where are you going here?
Yeah, I'll break the tie. Look, not surprisingly, Tennessee leads the nation, averaging over 550 yards a game. Well, guess what? Georgia is second nationally in total offense. The difference between these teams, as Collin laid out, is defense. Georgia's defense ranks 4th nationally in yards allowed. Tennessee's defense is yuck. I saw a great sign from Athens this morning. Peyton Manning's forehead covers more than Tennessee's defense. When you think about it, that's actually true. Everyone, Stuckey, like you said, on the planet loves Tennessee. Darren Ravel, unfortunately, is not on the show today, but he just texted me. Yeah, even Darren likes Tennessee. He loves the Vols. You know what I love? Going against the public dogs. This will be points of Palooza, excuse me, whatever in the world that means, like the Tennessee-Alabama game, for our tote board operator and our loyal listeners and watchers. I have 2 picks in this game, not 1, but 2, Georgia and the over.
All right, for what it's worth, we've only seen this happen 10 times last 50 years. A spread over a touchdown between the number 1 and number 2 teams in the AP poll. For what it's worth, the underdog has gone 8-2 against the spread and 6-4 straight up, which was surprising to me. Small sample size, but just an interesting nugget. So I mean, can't wait for that game. I'm excited to battle it out with you guys, and we'll see who comes out on top. All right, let's move on to our next game. We're going to stay in the SEC. We're going to go prime time in Death Valley, Alabama at LSU. LSU 13.5 point underdog here. Over under sitting around 56.5. This for me at pregame is a pass. If it gets to 14, I'd play LSU on the number. But Collin, I think you're going to tell us why you like Alabama here from a few matchup perspectives.
Yeah, I do like the Crimson Tide. They have favorable matchups on both sides of the ball. And LSU's defense is all about the pass rush. They have one of the best in the nation. But does that matter against Bryce Young, who has essentially chopped his pressure to sack ratio in half from his Heisman campaign last year? The LSU secondary is 91st in coverage. I know that we just talked about Tennessee in the same situation, but LSU has been very poor at grading against opposing targets. And I know that there's this narrative out there that Alabama doesn't have any explosive players downfield. I think that's going to change today. Plus, if Bryce Young isn't going to get touched, he's going to have 6 to 8 seconds in the pocket to pick apart this LSU defense. On the other side, Eli Ricks at corner made his return to Alabama, his first start last week against Mississippi State. He was targeted 9 times. He only gave up 1 catch. He's going to get one-on-one duties with Kayshon Boutte today. And that means that LSU is going to be looking at a heavy loaded box because Ricks can play one-on-one coverage against Boutte. So, if you put an extra man in the box against Jaden Daniels and his inside zone read, which has absolutely destroyed their last 2 opponents, that's going to limit LSU offensively. So I like Alabama to cover a huge number in SEC to determine the SEC West.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch because I do think that 2 of the glaring weaknesses of Alabama so far this year have been the lack of explosiveness at receiver, and they've had some holes at cornerback. And then if you insert Eli Ricks, who many in the past have said it's going to be a first-round draft pick, and then you get the explosiveness of Harold, that's basically like adding 2 key players to address your weaknesses at like the trade deadline, mid-season acquisition. So they could be the missing pieces. We'll see how they fare tonight. Brett, where are you going?
I'm going with Collin in Alabama. The last 5 meetings, it's dominated LSU. They've only allowed 47 points. They've shut out LSU twice. I know Brian Kelly's there, first year for him. He hasn't fared the greatest against Alabama either. Alabama also has dominated this series. They've won 10 of the last 11. And then you look at LSU's defense. They got scorched against Tennessee. I guess you could say everybody's defense has been scorched against Tennessee. They gave up 40 at home to the Vols. I think Bama gets a comfortable margin. They take the crowd out of the game, which will be crazy at night, as we know, at Tiger Stadium. My only concern is if Saban gets a big margin in the second half, he takes his foot off the pedal. The Tide may have one eye towards next week's game against Ole Miss, but still, I like Bama minus 13.5.
Which he did against Brian Kelly in the college football playoff, right? He absolutely could have beat Notre Dame by 40, and he took his foot off the pedal. So it could happen.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Alabama can build margin on the road. It's been an issue the past 2 seasons in true road games. Over the past 2 seasons, they're only 2-5 against the spread, double-digit favorites in all of them, and 5 of the 7 were decided by 3 points or fewer. I mean, even he lost to Texas A&M. You had Auburn go to quadruple overtime, lose to Tennessee. So we'll see if they could build margin on, because I do agree, Brett. Fast start, key here for Alabama. All right, let's take a quick halftime break and build our weekly round robin moneyline underdog parlay. God, I think we've been really close. We profited with a couple, but let's try to get that 5 for 5. Why don't you start us off with an anchor?
We're going to go way down the board. We're going to go ULM at home, hosting Texas State. And really, it's just a tale of what these teams do on the road versus home. Huge splits here. ULM is undefeated at home against the spread, and Texas State's only covered once on the road. They've looked terrible when they get outside of the state of Texas. And the Warhawks are decent. They actually have a decent defense against explosive pass, which is the only play that the Texas State Bobcats have. So ULM at home here, minus 135.
Yeah, let's go with Memphis Tigers at the Liberty Bowl. I think it's a really good spot. They're coming off a bye. I think they're undervalued in the market after suffering just some horrific losses. One in quadruple overtime, one against Houston. They were up like 3 scores late. And this is a great matchup for them. This reminds me of the ECU game when UCF went to ECU, and it was just a bad matchup for them because Memphis, they're very good against the run. And Memphis also has the passing attack that can exploit the weaknesses in the UCF secondary. think Memphis is 5-0 against the spread at home over the past 10 seasons when unranked against a ranked opponent. And they have won 4 of those 5 outright. I think they win this outright again. Give me Memphis.
Yeah, well, next one's going to be Vanderbilt. I mean, I said South Carolina was the worst trench in the SEC weeks ago. That hasn't changed whatsoever. They shouldn't be favored over anybody on the road. And Vanderbilt's getting AJ Swan back at quarterback. There'll be some stability there, and it's just not being factored into the market numbers. So give me the Commodores at home.
I'll go with Florida. Chomp here. This is look. I'm just in last week. Texas A&M in a perfect spot. Couldn't get it done against Ole Miss, and that told me a lot. And if you look at this team, they've won 2 FBS games this year. Should have lost to Arkansas, and they played Miami. They should have lost that game. They gave up like 200 more yards. They let Miami run wild on them. That is the weakness of this Texas A&M defense. The front, the run defense. Well, guess who leads the country in yards per rush? Florida. I think they exploit that today. And I just don't trust where the mental state of this Texas A&M team. All kinds of suspensions, locker room issues. Who's the quarterback? All their goals and aspirations have already been vanquished. It's Florida here for me.
Yeah, we're going to close it up with James Madison, plus money right now. We don't know what it's going to be when they kick against Louisville. And that's because we don't know the status of Todd Centillo, but he is expected to return. He had an oblique injury weeks ago. He warmed up pregame 2 weeks ago and did not play. Then he had a bye week. Now James Madison, for the first time ever, is closing off practices this week. And kids are on a hill from a mile away with binoculars and finding out that Todd Centillo is actually practicing. And if you go out to PFF and you look at like who the best quarterbacks are in the nation, you'll be shocked. Todd Centillo is one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. So give me James Madison against a very poor Louisville team from a tackling perspective.
Yeah, Jamie, good run defense, which is important in this matchup. And it's a brutal spot for Louisville off that big win over Wake Forest. You got Clemson on deck. So potential sleepy sandwich spot with Jamie coming off the bye with Centillo in there. They've been excellent all year. All right, good stuff with the round robin underdog moneyline parlay. Good luck to us and all of those following along. All right, let's get to the second half. We have 2 more marquee games to get to. Let's shift over to the Big 12. Texas at Kansas State. Kansas State thinks 2.5 point underdog here, over under 54.5. For me, this is all Texas. I love the Longhorns here. From a matchup perspective, I think it just sets up really well for Texas. Look, they can run the ball. Kansas State struggles to stop the run. Kansas State, their offense, the foundation of their offense is running the ball with Deuce Vaughn and company. Texas's run defense has been excellent all year. It's everything that the Oklahoma State matchup wasn't. Like Oklahoma State can't run it. They struggle to stop the run. It's the complete opposite here. You also have Texas coming off of a bye, a team that easily could be undefeated with a couple bounces that go their way late in games. I think there's value on the Horns in a good spot and a good matchup. Hook them. Colin?
Yeah, this one was really tough. I went back and forth on this one, but I landed on Texas in the first half. The reasoning's pretty simple. This Adrian Martinez, this number says that Will Howard is going to start. Adrian Martinez is a game time decision. I would expect the number to float more towards Kansas State's way if Adrian Martinez is good to go. But I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to take Texas in the first half on things that we already know. And the fact is, Texas has not lost a first half this season. Yes, they've tied twice against Bama, but they have not lost a first half. They have been excellent when they've gone off Sark's script in the beginning. And when you look at the defensive side of the ball, Stuckey just mentioned it, Texas is 6th nationally in success rate against the rush. That's what Kansas State plans to do against everybody. And with Deuce Vaughn back there, if it's Will Howard, then Texas is going to be able to just key off Deuce Vaughn and dare Will Howard to beat him. And that's definitely a scenario where I would love to back the Horns. And setting the quarterback, news aside, this is just a Texas team that has monster issues in the second half of ball games. They only scored 3 points on the road against Oklahoma State. They lost the lead against Texas Tech. Now they're on the road again. I want nothing to do with Texas in the second half of their games. So I'm going to stick with the first half here on the Horns.
Yeah, wins also could make throwing a little more difficult in that run matchup. Even more important. Brett, what do you got here?
Yeah, Stuck. The last time we saw the Longhorns, Texas was back and back and back. They were backed up by 14 penalties in that second half collapse to Oklahoma State. Texas is coming off a penalty-free and much-needed bye week. And like you said, now they get red-hot Kansas State. Texas has played one of the nation's toughest schedules, and you're right, Stuck. They're only 11 points away from being undefeated. Somehow, some way, they are actually still alive for a spot in the Big 12 title game. I know you like that with your Texas futures. I like Texas as well as a small favorite. Okay, cool. Hook 'em. Give me the Longhorns.
A fun fact on Texas and Oklahoma State that you just alluded to. Last week, Texas on a bye scored the same amount of points as Oklahoma State, who did have a game at Kansas State. All right, let's move on to our final marquee game of the day. Let's go to South Bend. Clemson at Notre Dame. Notre Dame, this number's been floating between 3.5, 4.5. As Notre Dame is a home dog, over-under has dropped. There's weather here in the forecast, which is something to keep an eye on. And this game obviously has massive implications potentially for the college football playoff. I'll kick things off. I'm going with Notre Dame here. Home dog with a total coming down. I'm just not a believer in Clemson. My numbers say to play it. I keep digging into this Clemson defense, and I don't understand why they're not better, but they are weak in the trenches, and maybe it's injuries and they just can't build continuity. But I think Notre Dame actually will be able to get a push up front, and I just don't trust the Clemson passing situation yet. I think this is a low-scoring game. I'll happily take the 4 with the home dog. In a game that I show a little bit of value on, I think Clemson is right for the picking here. Give me the Irish. Collin?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Notre Dame +4 also with the weather involved. It's a game I power rate at 3, but I make it even less with the weather because it makes it a complete ground game and nothing through the air. And both these teams just faced Syracuse, and Notre Dame proved, I mean, at least from a box score perspective, that they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground. Audric Estime has separated himself from that 3-man rotation they've got at running back. He had 20 carries for 123 yards against the Orange, 2 touchdowns in there also. And listen, Clemson, Stuckey's right. Clemson, something's going on with the rush defense, even with all the big name and the stars back. They gave up 200 yards on the ground to Florida State. This game should be a field goal or less with sustained winds over 20 miles per hour. It's all about the ground game, and Notre Dame can keep up in that aspect. So I'll take them at +4.
Brett, are you going to make it a clean sweep? Where are you going against this?
Absolutely. I am not going to do that. I'm going with Clemson. I know how much you guys despise the Tigers. Go Tigers, wrong Tigers. But one way to beat Clemson is through the air. Well, Notre Dame quarterback Drew Pine, his last 3 starts, 49%, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Clemson has the nation's 7th best rush defense, so they don't need to stack the box. It looks like DJ will start again for Clemson. But the good news, if you have Clemson, is if DJ struggles, Dabo has shown he will pull the plug and put in Cade Klubnik for a spark. And we talk about Notre Dame's home field advantage. It's more like a disadvantage. They've lost at home already to Marshall and Stanford. They struggled with Cal. Unfortunately, Clemson stays in college football playoff contention with a win here. Give me Clemson -4 on the road.
I know, Brett, I know a lot of things can happen, but for the most part, is this an elimination game? Like, just keep winning and you're in, obviously. But if they lose, even if they win the ACC title, obviously it depends on some other things. But
yeah,
do you think that's it for them?
I think a 12-1 ACC champion Clemson team gets in, unless you've got obviously 4 undefeated teams.
Yep. All right. Let's close things out here with one final best bet. And if you're wondering, Mr. Darren Ravel could not join us today for a market report. I think he would say everyone in the world is on Tennessee. So that's probably the market report. I think he's at like a check auction, buying old checks somewhere. I don't know what he's doing, but he couldn't join us today. I think his best bet was Tennessee moneyline first half. So fade at your own discretion. All right. Let's close things out with one final best bet. I'm going to go with Kansas at home here in a great spot against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, I doubt is going to be fully healthy. We don't even know if Spencer Sanders is going to play. They could be down multiple starters on offense, defense, even special teams. They played 5 marquee Big 12 games in the month of October. Now you're headed on the road again to face a Kansas team coming off of a bye, looking to avenge a 55-3 loss from last year, and also to get the bowl eligibility. This team has sights on a bowl for the first time, I think, since 2008. Should get a good crowd here. I love this offensive staff. I think they'll have a lot of great new wrinkles drawn up here against a really bad Oklahoma State defense. I think Kansas gets it done at home. Collin, one final best bet?
Yeah, I was going to use a can of beer as a prop because Eli Drinkwitz says nobody wants to drink at 10:30 in the morning, but I am super ready here in about 30 minutes to crack a beer in honor of Missouri. We're going to take them. Missouri's just been dominant on defense right now, specifically against the rush. Auburn, Vandy, South Carolina had 82 yards or less on the ground. And then when you look at the Florida game, they were able to limit them to 66 yards in the air. So what that means is Missouri defensively, who is playing top 20 ball right now in the last few weeks, they're able to take away the best weapon from the offenses that they're facing. Now they're going up against a very depressed Kentucky team that just got blown out by Tennessee, is on the road, 20-mile-an-hour winds. It's raining. It's gross. It's Columbia. And I just don't expect Kentucky to show up whatsoever. Missouri's defense is playing outstanding. And Eli Drinkwitz is going to make bowl season again, save his job. And I'll be cracking a beer here in about 30 minutes for it.
Yeah, Kentucky just simply can't run the ball. And also on the other side, Missouri's offense a little bit limited, but Kentucky's going to be down, I believe, 2 starting linebackers, 2 key linebackers, which could matter in a battle of the trenches. And yeah, that Missouri defense is playing out of its mind. Should have beat Auburn at Auburn. They don't fumble the ball or miss a chip shot. Really outplayed Florida at Florida. The conversation could be a lot different about Missouri if those bounces went their way, but that defense is playing out of its minds. Brett, close us up here. What do you got with one final best bet?
Yeah, real quick, Stuck. I actually agree with your Kansas pick going against Oklahoma State. I reported earlier this morning, Jalen Daniels could actually return to action for the Jayhawks. That obviously would be a big boost for Kansas, along with all the injury issues for Oklahoma State. I'm taking an over, which is probably dangerous today with all of the bad weather and wind going on. But still, I'm going over in Maryland, Wisconsin. Tagovailoa returns after being out a few weeks for the Terps. The Terps are third in the Big Ten in scoring offense and total offense. And look at Wisconsin since the firing of Paul Chryst. They're averaging more than 100 yards of offense. They're averaging 20 points more per game. They're averaging 35 points their last 3 since Chryst is firing. Easy for me to say. But Stuck and Collin, I'll sum up this over in 2 words. Graham Mertz. His first 5 games with Paul Chryst, 8 TDs, 5 interceptions. AC after Chryst, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Give me over 48.5. Hopefully a tornado does not come through Madison, Wisconsin this afternoon.
Yeah, if you look at some of the downfield passing numbers for Graham Mertz, they have been impressive. So good luck to you there. And it is a great time to remind everyone it's November, right? So you got to keep an eye on the weather. There's some extremely high winds, especially in the Midwest, and that'll be something worth monitoring each and every week throughout the rest of the season. All right, good stuff there. Thanks, as always, to all of you for tuning in, and to my co-host, Collin Wilson and Brett McMurphy. Thanks to our video team and audio teams on the back end to make all of this possible. One quick reminder, make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our picks there. And also, BetMGM, our sponsor, they have a great new offer. When you sign up, use the bonus code ACTION, get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions do apply. Again, that's bonus code ACTION. Thanks for tuning in as always. Big Bets on Campus podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. We will have our recap episode on Monday morning. Make sure you call into the voicemail, 959-BAD-BEAT, cash prize for the caller of the week. And we'll see you same time next week for week 11. Big Bets on Campus live, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Good luck with all of your wagers today. And we'll see you later. Cheers.